NetsBoy, so let's hear what he has to say. His name is NetsBoy, he thinks the world is all over when the Nets just can't play.
What up, Net fans? NetsBoy here, bringing you the latest in your Brooklyn Nets news. All right, let's go. Let's dive right in. We've got a lot to talk about in this episode, and I want to try to keep it under 15 minutes because I rarely ever do that because I just talk simply too much. But I'm going to try my best, and we have so much to go over. It's currently, depending on when you see this episode, October 1st, and it is right before the preseason starts, as the first preseason game will be against the 76ers on Monday, October 3rd. We just are in the pretty much the wrapping up the end of training camp for the Nets. Media Day happened about 4 or 5 days ago, and I want to start off the episode obviously about addressing that and some of the things that were said during Media Day, and then I will then pivot and talk about the offseason moves that the Nets have made and this currently constructed Nets roster, in which I'm pretty pleased about, except for the fact I still don't think they have enough size, but we'll touch upon that in a second. But first, let's just focus on, obviously, the major news coming out of training camp, and that was Media Day, and obviously what Kevin Durant had to say about everything. Look, I'm sure all of you have seen it by now a couple times, or at least seen some highlights or clips of Durant's interview, as well as Kyrie's and Steve Nash's and so on and so forth. And, you know, overall, I'm not that upset. I'll say that upset with the response Kevin Durant had. You know, his reasoning behind asking for the trade request, saying that there was a lot of uncertainty and doubts that, you know, went into his mind after the way everything transpired last year with players being in and out of the lineup. He started questioning the accountability factor of the team, the leadership of the team, the toughness, and just didn't know if the organization was stable enough to be someplace that he wanted to be for the next 4 years. That's pretty much what he said. You know, and then he kind of backtracked a little bit and walked back a couple things and said, like, you know, a lot of stuff was blown out of proportion, and, you know, a lot of stuff wasn't true of some of the things that was being reported, and that, you know, he just, you know, simply just wanted to be on the same page, all this stuff. And, you know, my overall takeaway from what Kevin Durant had to say was just the fact that it really seems like this guy can't hold himself accountable. Like, I don't know. Like, I had no problem with him saying what he had to say. I had no problem with him saying why he was upset, but the fact of the matter is, everything that happened last year, whether he was directly involved or not, happened surrounding him. And happened not necessarily because of him, but because he played a factor in the decision makings that the Nets organization made because he's Kevin Durant. Like, we touched upon this before. Kyrie Irving is here because Kevin Durant is here. They go together. So any situation that causes Kyrie Irving to go AWOL or be an issue has to be also tied to Kevin Durant. Because we know damn well that the Nets would not have even signed Kyrie Irving over the 3 years ago, 4 years ago when the Nets got KD and Kyrie, if they didn't know for sure that Kevin Durant was going to come too. The Nets love D'Angelo Russell. We love D'Angelo Russell. And the Nets really wanted D'Angelo Russell and Kevin Durant. But they knew they could only get Durant with Kyrie. So right off the bat, that's tied together. We talked about it before. DeAndre Jordan being given $40 million coming to the Nets was for Kevin Durant. The Nets going out there and trading to get James Harden was approved upon by Kevin Durant, which also caused a trickle effect of the Nets losing their interior toughness with Jarrett Allen and losing some of their quality wing depth with Karis LeVert. And then everything just kind of trickled from there. Then when James Harden wanted to get traded, Kevin Durant signed off, bring in players that can help, Ben Simmons. So it's just kind of shocking to me that Kevin Durant kind of looked at everything that happened last year and just kind of wiped his hands of it and said, this is all you guys. You guys screwed everything up. I have nothing to do with it. And that's just my biggest takeaway. That's probably the thing that gets me the angriest about what Kevin Durant had to say. It's just, where's the accountability? You're the face of the franchise, whether you want to be or not. You are the superstar player on this team. You are the reason why the Nets do everything that they do. That Sean Marks, Steve Nash is here because of your relationship with him. So it's frustrating. It's frustrating to hear somebody have zero accountability for all the disasters that transpired last season. And I'm not saying that Kevin Durant should be like, it's all on me. No, there was a lot of factors that had nothing to do with him or they're out of his control. But the fact that he could sit there and blame the Nets and blame the organization and blame Sean Marks and blame Steve Nash and blame everybody else and act like it had nothing to do with them kind of rubbed me the wrong way. That being said, I got no problem with anything else that he said. He walked back everything. He said that he's kind of glad that he stuck around, that he loved the moves that Sean Marks made, and he felt very respected. He addressed the fact that he understood why he wasn't traded because he said he knew that the Nets weren't going to give him away for nothing, and he felt very, felt good about the fact of how much the team valued him, and they were very upfront and honest, he said, the whole time. So I liked everything else that he said. And then the best part is, most recently, he had one more interview where he said, listen, I don't want this to be a factor anymore. I rescinded the trade request. I'm happy I'm here. I'm looking back at the situation. I think this was the best decision, and I just want to move forward. Let's put it to rest. And I love that he said that because we know this would be a story the rest of the year, but he's trying to put it to rest, and hopefully we don't hear about this much more anymore. After really maybe the first week or two of the season, the media will probably talk about it a little bit, but hopefully we don't hear about this anymore. He did say that for those fans or for those people who don't trust him, also known as me, because I ended my last episode with a whole rant about that, he just said, that's on us or on me or on Net fans or on people because, that's their prerogative, that's their decision, or that's what they feel. And, I understand why he said that, because what else is he going to say? You're right, you can't trust me. He says, I'm here. If you don't believe me, then I'm gonna stick around. That's on you. That's fine by me. I'm gonna take that at face value because I still personally do not trust Kevin Durant. And like I said, the lack of accountability of what happened is just very frustrating. And my only idea or understanding or philosophy of why Kevin Durant would act that way, because I don't think he's that tone deaf to think that it had nothing to do with him, everything that happened, is that maybe secretly the Nets really didn't run a lot of these moves by him. Or maybe they did, and Kevin Durant kind of says to Sean Marks and Joe Tsai and Steve Nash, hey, listen, I'm here to hoop. You're the general manager. You're the coach. You figure it out. Sure, tell me what you're going to do, but I'm going to say do it because that's not my job. That's my only theory I came up with of why Kevin Durant would have that response. Perhaps, the Nets just was like, hey, we're going to bring in your friend DeAndre Jordan. Okay, cool. Hey, we're going to go out there and trade for James Harden. All right, I have no problem with that. Hey, we're going to trade James Harden. All right, cool. We're going to hire Steve Nash. All right, I like that guy. So maybe that's how it went, that the Nets made these decisions on behalf of Durant and asked Durant, and Durant just being the guy saying, hey, man, do what you want. Sure, I'm here to ball. And that's it. And maybe that's what happened. And then Durant took a couple steps back and said, you know what? I wasn't really happy with that. I wasn't really happy with this and the decisions they made, even though he signed off on them. But that wasn't why he was there. So that's my only theory of why Durant had the response that he had and had no credibility, talking about, I was expecting to play with this group of guys. And I don't know. It is what it is. It's done with. Kyrie Irving had his own fair share of fun little takes and things, too, talking about it, the stigma of him not being vaccinated and how that's translated to him not wanting to play. And he's right about that, but also wrong about that because it's almost like he completely forgets the fact that the guy has only played in, not even half of the games that he's been available to play, from vaccine mandates to taking time off because of the riots, to electing not to be in the bubble, to do all these things. Like, Kyrie, we're not. I could spend a whole other episode on that too. And we all know I defend Kyrie Irving a lot, but that kind of also is just like, bro, you also that tone deaf. Yes, people are looking at the vaccine mandate as a situation of why the Nets didn't want to give you the extension because they didn't want to commit to all this money for someone who may not be able to play. But you also got to understand the other things you've done in your past makes people just question how much you really care. But I do believe that Kyrie Irving is going to have one of the best years, and Kevin Durant, one of the best years of his career, and I actually think he could be an MVP candidate. I firmly do believe that and I think that both those guys are going to play in at least 60 games each. And that's all I want at this point. 60 games, Kyrie and KD. Get me 60 games. That means they can miss 22 games. But if KD and Kyrie play in 60 games this year minimum, this Nets team is going to do very well. In a loaded Eastern Conference this year, loaded, they would probably be around the 48 to 52 win mark if those two guys played, and that's what I'm hoping for. But I'll talk more about my predictions and expectations before the first game of the year, which is October 19th. So that'll be my next NetsBoy episode. I will now pivot and quickly talk about, for the next maybe 5 minutes, the roster moves the Nets have made. They made loads of moves this offseason. We all know that they traded for Royce O'Neal. They brought in T.J. Warren. They brought back Patty Mills. They're going to have a healthy Joe Harris and a healthy Seth Curry. They brought back Nicholas Claxton. All right. They signed Iman Sumners, who's a very quality combo guard. They signed Kessler Edwards to a regular deal. They got a lot of wing depth this year. I like this Nets team a lot. I think the versatility they have on the wings, which was one of their weaknesses last year, is going to play huge. My only problem with this Nets team, and I touched upon it before, is their lack of size. Nicholas Claxton and Daron Sharp are the only two traditional bigs on this team, both at 6'11". I just question that. I understand Steve Nash loves the switch defense. He loves to play small ball. But I still feel like the Nets should have more depth with a traditional big. Because right now, it looks like the Nets are either going to make Daron Sharp the backup center, which I've got no problem with because I like Daron Sharp, or they're going to go small ball and have either Ben Simmons or Markieff Morris, who was another guy who they signed, though it's not a guaranteed contract. Markieff Morris or Ben Simmons or Kevin Durant are going to be the backup centers or the backup fives. And I'm just looking at that and I'm like, I don't know. Ben Simmons is the best choice, in my opinion, to be the backup five in that situation. But I don't like it. I really feel like, and you look at some of the other roster moves. I mean, they brought back Chris Chiozza, our friend. Obviously, they have loads of guys who were in the G League last year. They brought back David Duke on a two-way, and then they got Yutan Watanabe, that guy who played sporadically for the Raptors. He could also be a small ball five, but and then they have Adonis Williams, who's a guard. I mean, it kind of looked like the Nets want to have some versatility to maybe make some mid-season moves, but I just don't like their size. I mean, I'm looking right now at their roster. And like I said, other than Claxton and Daron Sharp, I would argue that either Kevin Durant or Ben Simmons would be the next best option at center. And, it's just kind of frustrating to see because I'm nervous about that. Because Claxton, first of all, let's start with Claxton. Love Claxton. I love the fact that the Nets are going to be probably playing him about 34 minutes a game, 30 to 34 minutes a game as the starting center. But Claxton doesn't have a good history of staying healthy. I mean, in his first three years in the league, he's been in and out of the lineup because of injury. What makes you think that's not going to happen again? And so then you're just going to rely on Daron Sharp? And then who you got going behind him. So right off the bat, Claxton scares me, not because I don't think he'll play well, but because the guy has a history of injuries. I think the depth they have at the guard position and the power forward position for Durant and Kyrie, I really like. I mean, TJ Warren, who they said won't play for the first couple weeks of the season, though, because he's still getting back from his injuries that he had. TJ Warren is a great insurance policy to have for Kevin Durant if Kevin Durant were to go down. Same thing with Royce O'Neal. Versatile, strong bigs that can provide toughness. They're not going to be able to provide the offense that Durant does, but they're quality players that you can plug in. And then you look at the depth for Kyrie Irving. We all know they got Cam Thomas. Iman Sumners is a great combo scoring guard. And now they got one more other guy in Chris Chiozza, who they brought back to be a true traditional point guard. So I like the point guard depth, and I like the forward depth. You know, don't forget the fact that Joe Harris is back. Don't forget the fact that Seth Curry's still there and Patty Mills. Like the depth, Kessler Edwards, the depth is fantastic in the wings. It's just frustrating me. I'm so nervous. I really wanted the Nets to get Dwight Howard. I don't know why they did it. Supposedly, Dwight Howard had interest in coming to the Nets. Maybe he wanted more than a veteran minimum contract. I don't know. But the way I looked at it, Dwight Howard playing 15 to 18 minutes a game as the backup center would have been exactly what this Nets team needed, and it'd be a quality-centered front court depth piece to go up against bigger body players like Joel Embiid and anyone else who can maybe create more of an interior presence. That it just made too much sense. And it still makes too much sense. And I still don't know why. I don't know, because he can't switch 1 through 5. Is that really the reason? Daron Sharp can't really switch 1 through 5 either. He's more of a drop defender as well. So why is he still on the team? I mean, it's just stupid. I don't get it. There's obviously, to me, has something to do stupid with Steve Nash, because most things that are wrong with this team is because of Steve Nash. But who knows? Maybe there's a grand scheme in a system that they want to play offensively and defensively that we don't know about. Maybe they really love the idea of Ben Simmons playing the 5 and putting a bunch of shooters around him, like, you know, which I do understand that. Like, imagine if Ben Simmons is your starting 5 and you have Kevin Durant as your 4, Joe Harris at your 3, Seth Curry as your 2, and Kyrie Irving as your 1. I mean, what you're going to do that way offensively, that is a juggernaut of an offensive lineup. But at the same time, you're going to really suck defensively with that team, because as good of a defender Ben Simmons is, he's not a great post defender. Like, he's a good post defender, but he's more better with his versatility, his ability to switch and guard all the positions. But you put up Joel Embiid against Ben Simmons in the post, I don't know about that. And Embiid and the 76ers are going to be one of those teams that Nets are going to be competing with all year in the Eastern Conference, which I said is a very, very strong and deep Eastern Conference this season. So, look, to sum it up, I like almost every move the Nets made, except for the fact I just want them to have one more quality big who can provide some depth in the front court. Maybe that will happen. You know, Dwight Howard is still not signed, so that's my guy right now, despite him being another player that in the history of NetsBoy has always hated. But at the same time, for the position and the role that he is going to be in, or would be in with this Nets team, it makes loads of sense. But, I mean, other than that, I love the TJ Warren signing. I love the Markieff Morris signing. I love that they brought back Chiozza. You know, I love that they brought back most of the players that they had on their team. Patty Mills and bringing back Claxton. Obviously, Bruce Brown is not back. I think he signed with the Nuggets. Did he sign with the Nuggets? I don't remember where he signed with. He signed somewhere, but that's okay. Because I do think that the Nets kind of see Ben Simmons going in a little bit in that Bruce Brown role, but he's actually 6'9", 6'10". Though he's listed at 6'11". Ben Simmons is not 6'11". I don't care what anyone says. He's like 6'9", okay? Basketball height. But I like a lot of the moves. I love Iman Sumners, and he's going to provide toughness and a great guard play and scoring. I like this Nets team. So that is my analysis of the roster at this point. We'll see what transpires during the preseason. which my next NetsBoy episode will probably be in 2 weeks once preseason is pretty much wrapped up and we're about to start the regular season, in which then I will talk about my Nets expectations and predictions. So that's always a fun episode, so keep your eyes open to that episode. We're going on 20 minutes now, so NetsBoy lied yet again about trying to keep this in a more reasonable time frame. What a surprise! NetsBoy is wrong and talks too much. But let me know what you guys think about everything, from the things that Kevin Durant said to maybe some of the other speculation you heard during Media Day, to the roster construction and what this team is. If you agree with me that the Nets just need some more front court depth, just one more player, one more big, all right, whether it's Dwight Howard or Hassan Whiteside or some other big body that the Nets could just utilize if they need some depth in the 5 spot, let me know about everything. And until then, this is NetsBoy, getting ready for the preseason and the regular season, which will be right around the corner, and signing off.